Hi, everyone. Welcome to day 9 of our 21 Days of Green video coaching program. Today, our mantra is vision. So, again, we're now starting to step in and embody this change that we wish to be, and it will require vision. We're going to talk a lot about air quality today, and I am going to show you some examples of communities that have either been created to have good air quality or have made strong, powerful choices to shift over into better air quality. The statistics are really powerful on this. You know, sometimes we don't see or even maybe even smell, especially if we're already in our cars, the amount of pollution that there really is. But the statistics on the increase in asthma, respiratory, there's actually a place called Cancer Alley that's located along the Mississippi River where the emissions from plastics and chemical plants creates, very, very elevated risk for cancer. So, sometimes we're just not aware of the statistics. We might be if we live in the area and we know a lot of people who get sick, but a lot of us have just learned to live with, a lot of cars on the road, or even if you are walking down the street or riding a bike, having, a very dirty energy bus like blast a bunch of crap in your nose. So I want to show you one of the worst examples that I have seen recently. Sadly, it was in India. So when I went to India, the first thing you do is you hope you can land, because there are certain times of the year, certain days especially, where the fog and the smog, so the pollution and the fog together create such a dense amount of muck that you can't even land a plane. I had an overnight train trip in India from New Delhi to Bodh Gaya that became a 3-day train trip because they had to literally just stop the train and not even move because you couldn't see in front of you. And when we finally did get to Bodh Gaya, I was in a taxi and you couldn't see 2 inches in front of the car. It felt very dangerous. And the taxi driver didn't even know where the hotel was. He couldn't even see it. So it's really, we don't know about all this, but I must say, if we were looking down from space at all of these people in their single occupancy vehicles, it would make absolutely no sense, especially when there's gridlock and traffic. So I think it's really important for us to have vision and try to pull ourselves out of our daily routines and take a high enough, an eagle's eye view, high enough to see how ridiculous and silly it is. Now, transitioning is going to require vision and doing it. So I am going to show you a couple of other communities that did transition first, and then I'll show you a community that was created for that. So my hometown of Santa Monica, where I've lived most of my adult life, when I was going to college at Santa Monica College, I had a young son and I rode a bike so that the family could afford for me not to work and go to college. And it was dangerous. I rode on the sidewalks. No one was walking in Santa Monica at that time. So I rode on the sidewalks, but I got tickets frequently because that was illegal. You're supposed to ride on the streets. But if you rode on the streets, sometimes the cars would even try to get really dangerously close to say, hey, get off the street. This is just for cars, even though that's where the law said that bikes were supposed to be. And there were no bike lanes at all. So it was perilous. And I do hear people say, oh, I'm not going to give up my car and ride a bike because there are no bike lanes in my community. But the only way for this stalemate to move past it and forward is for someone to have the vision to do that. So in Santa Monica, they put in a rail system. Bird did not ask permission. They dropped e-scooters on the city. There were already a bike share program. So there were bike lanes, but they weren't that well developed, and they certainly didn't connect all over the city like they do today. And a lot of that had to do with the e-scooter companies just dropping their scooters in their app without asking permission. Now, of course, some cities outlawed it and others developed pilot programs to make that happen. But again, whatever it is that you're going to do, and we do need more millennials and Gen Z involved in leadership roles, whether it's going to be community organizing or running for office, because that's what's going to lead the change. Is, you know, a lot of the older generation is going to keep making excuses why they still need their single occupancy vehicle. But it is something that we should and can shift out of. So another thing I wanted to say is that when I was learning more about Santa Monica's shift towards micro mobility in their pilot programs, and I did participate in a couple of you know, peaceful protests to promote bike share. What I learned is that the mayor of Santa Monica at that time, his name is Ted Winterer, he has a family of 4. They have 5 bikes and 1 car. And again, here's where vision can actually be something that creates more money for you. So by doing that and by having, you know, he said, look, sometimes we do need to take a ride share or an Uber or a Lyft somewhere. And he said the cost of that was much lower. The average cost of a car is about $7,500. He said for the family that their rideshare costs were $2,000. But if every family member had their own car, it could be even $30,000 or more a year. So the cost savings can be very dramatic. Now, I also wanted to show you another example of vision. So vision occurred in about late 1970s when HRH, the Prince of Wales, commonly known as Prince Charles, decided to build a community for people that want to walk and ride their bike. And so he enlisted the design services of a man named Leon Creer, and they created Poundbury. And Poundbury is a small community located in Dorset, that's the county, in a town called Dorchester. And you know, the lifestyle there and the air quality there, because there are a lot of people that walk and ride their bikes, is very good. So again, I want you to learn more about some of these communities. You can learn more about Poundbury. They have their own website. It's featured on Google's Arts and Culture website. I have articles on my Thrive Global blog and also in my personal blog about Poundbury as well. So here's my, you know, you can go to Thrive Global and just, you know, do a Google search for Natalie Pace and you should be able to find me there. So again, vision is required and leadership, but vision especially. Can you envision a community with greater air quality, both for your lungs and also less CO2 for our planet? What do you need to create that? And I want to challenge each of us as well to go at least one day over one weekend this month. So you have to plan this where the family is not going to use the car. So again, the first time you do it, it can be a shocker. So plan ahead and, you know, do what you need to do the day before and the day after, but try that for one day where if you're going to have a family event, you all walk or ride the bikes, or take rideshare, something where you just garage the car, but preferably not in a car. And again, let's see what kind of vision that you can create by taking an eagle-eye view of it. Again, a lot of people that were opposed to micromobility when it first dropped in Santa Monica, and there were people, they wanted to outlaw it. You know, they were also complaining about gridlock traffic. And in fact, the traffic was so terrible in Santa Monica that going from like the Ocean Avenue to just the 405 freeway, which is maybe 3 miles, 4 miles at the top, it could take you an hour during rush hour traffic, an hour. And so what people would do is that they would race down the residential streets, creating a real hazard for families with children. and pets, of course. And everybody was complaining about it and they all wanted solutions. And here comes micromobility as a solution, because you could take a person out of this giant vehicle and stick them on an e-scooter, and then they would have, easier ways to park, and everybody was up in arms about it. But now it's only 3.5 years later, we actually have expanded bike lanes. People are accustomed to bikes and scooters on the road, and we even have restaurants on the road. So it's crazy how fast things can transition. The air quality is much better too. So again, have the vision, think mantra of vision, increasing the air quality, and all of the ways that that helps to heal the planet, but also our family and even our budget. Have the vision to think differently and to try something new. And I'll see you tomorrow. And thank you for sticking with me for 9 days. Let's see if we can go for 10.